All right, Jimmy, Ott Paul Stone, as we wrap up the college football season, and got to tip my hat to my partner here, Paul Stone. Not only did he tell us to take the points with the Miami Hurricanes, but he also, when it was at 9, which was a high point as it wound up, he was like, I would probably take it now. And at game time, it went off at 7.5. So good way to end the college football season, and pretty damn good game as well. So the team that's started out as the all-time losingest program in the history of college football. They're not there anymore. That's just the Purple Cats now from Evanston, just north of downtown Chicago and Northwestern, and now they are 16-0 national champions. So anyway, ABBA looking for some rights, getting paid for their rights for all the bars for the Fernando song back years and years ago. Paul, you remember that song back in the ABBA days. So anyway, it's just interesting times in college football. So the Big Ten, hey, got to give them their credit. 3 in a row now in 3 different teams. They are the toast of the town right now in college football. The SEC had 14 of 17, and so it's a little regrouping right now in the SEC. But I was at least right at that. I said that I didn't think about mid-season I didn't see an SEC team that was capable of winning the whole thing this year. We'll have to see what that will be. They're certainly still trying in the SEC and a lot of programs. There's no doubt about that. Let's get to college basketball, Paul. Let's start off with a double header pick, well, a double barrel pick, I should say, and that is let's go to the SEC and Auburn. Auburn, how much do they miss Bruce Pearl? The hand down to Stephen Pearl, the late retirement by Bruce, and it was kind of set up. I mean, he was the best coach in the history of the program. He kind of earned that distinction to handpick his successor, so he picked his assistant and his son Bruce Pearl. But they're just not quite the same, if you ask me. Now they only have one returning starter from last year, Todd Pettiford, and they barely got him as he was in and out of the transfer portal, but he stayed. And then at Ole Miss. Ole Miss on paper was, man, listen, 4 of the 8 teams in the 48 Elite Eight teams were from the SEC, and Ole Miss could have easily been a 5th. They blew a lead in the Sweet 16 against Michigan State. Really, a game they should have won. They returned their best player, Malik Dia. They get some experienced backcourt guys out of France, some older guys that we see. And then they also add a piece like A.J. Storr from Wisconsin. And I'm like, why is this team struggling as much as they are? It seems as if Chris Beard's team has turned the corner a little bit. After starting out 0-2 in the SEC with a loss at Oklahoma by 16 and then losing a tough one at home to Arkansas by 7, they beat Missouri, a hard-fought game there. Then they go to Athens and win in overtime, 97-95 against the Georgia Bulldogs, number 1 scoring team in the country. And then they go in a rivalry game at the Hump in Starkville and win a tough game there as well. Auburn is a favorite on the road here, maybe over the overall resume when Ole Miss was struggling. But listen, Chris Beard is an excellent coach. And this is, the better coach teams, this kind of the part of the season where they start to improve and get better over the course of the season. We see it each and every year in college basketball. But, Paul, I think this Chris Beard team has turned the corner. And I was just wondering, I was scratching my head, why are they not better? Why are they not? That's a lot of new pieces, and it takes time sometimes. This is a continuity and cohesion, chemistry. It means a lot in college basketball. You can out finesse people, you can out scheme people, and certainly with the 3-point line being a great equalizer. But this is a team that should have hit the floor running, but it just took a little bit longer than usual. But I think Chris Beard, who I'll take him up against anybody, if as far as you give me the rosters, I think they've turned a corner. I think the wrong team is favored here. I'm going with the Ole Miss Rebels at home at the Pavilion. They'll be excited at home. We're coming off that 2-game road winning streak.
Yeah, fair to say. Ole Miss, they did little to inspire confidence across their first 15 games. They get off to a 8-7 record that included losses to Oklahoma and Arkansas to open SEC play. But after starting 0-2 in the league, and you mentioned it, but Ole Miss, to me, it's almost like they flipped a switch. They won 3 straight games, the victories over Missouri, Georgia, and the weekend victory at Mississippi State. So 3 straight victories The latter two victories coming as road underdogs, which is no easy feat in the grinding, the game by game grind that is the Southeastern Conference. Very difficult conference to win on the road. Critical. You mentioned AJ Storr, and he's certainly been the transfer has been critical to the Rebels' success. The 6'5" guard to this point. Interestingly, Storr is a guy who, and the transfer portal guys play for a lot of different colleges. But some guys play for a lot of different high schools. Storr played for 4 different high schools, and now he's on his 4th different college. He had previous stints at St. John's, Wisconsin, and Kansas. You look at the current 3-game win streak. Storr has scored a total of 70 points in those 3 victories, grabbed 17 rebounds. So he's really playing well. Oddly enough, he doesn't even start. And even though he doesn't start, he is second on the team in minutes played per game at just under 25 minutes per game. So they play a lot of guys evenly. He's the second leading scorer at 13.3 points per game for the Rebels. You mentioned their big man forward, Malik Dia. He's a 6'9" force in the middle, 14.2 points per game, 7.2 rebounds a game. Both of those are team best. He additionally blocks about a shot a game. So he's a guy who patrols the middle for Ole Miss, one of the better big men in the entire conference. You look at Auburn, and although the competition has been stiff, they're 3 road games, true road games. They've lost all 3 of them, those being defeats against Arizona, Georgia, and Missouri. The Tigers, of course, as you mentioned, now under the leadership of first-year head coach Stephen Pearl, who was promoted to head coach when Bruce Pearl, his father, as you also mentioned, surprisingly resigned or retired in late September. Stephen Pearl ascends to the top job. And like you, I think the results have been lukewarm at best. This isn't the same Auburn team that we have become accustomed to the last couple of years under Bruce Pearl. Only 11-7 on the season at this point. Started the season number 20 in the preseason AP poll. I'm like you. I don't often use this term. I think it's overused when we say there's a wrong side favorite. But in this game, I really thought Ole Miss might be favored by 1. I think they're going to win this game. I think we're getting a little bit of a bonus, getting 2.5. So I'll take the Rebels plus 2.5 over the Tigers they're in
at the Pavilion, baby.
At the Pavilion in Oxford, Mississippi. I hadn't been to the Pavilion before. I've been to a football game at Oxford, and I went blank there. But there in Oxford, I'll take the 2.5, the home standing Ole Miss Rebels against Auburn.
Cool campus town in Mississippi, and did plenty of shows over at Proud Larry's live music joint. Restaurant turned live music joint at nighttime. So the square is it's a cool spot. I'm not sure if I would advise a whole lot of people to go there in purple and gold in the fall when Lane Kiffin makes his return. But anyway, it's a cool town. There's no doubt of a cool campus town. Don't forget, Bet Rivers is giving out college basketball profit boosts from 20 to 50% throughout the week for live wagers on Tuesday, same game parlays on Wednesday, and regular parlays on Thursday. So that's live wagers on Tuesday, same game parlays on Wednesday, and regular parlays on Thursday. See the Bet Rivers app for more details over from our friends over at Bet Rivers. Let's move on, Paul. Let's go to one of your picks. Let's go to the ACC and Virginia Tech and Syracuse. And Autry, the former player for Syracuse, I think it kind of caught my attention early on this year as they were more than competitive against Houston in that tournament out in Las Vegas. And, they, just I was like, okay. I mean, they lost a tough one to Clemson earlier this year. They got a win against Tennessee in the ACC SEC Challenge at home, 62-60, and then got off to a 3-game winning streak. But man, at BC losing by 8, this is not a great BC team. Kind of catches my attention right now with the Syracuse Orange. Now, they're at home taking on Virginia Tech, and probably one of the most impressive performances for Virginia Tech this year was at Dallas in a loss. That's right. It was a half-court shot when they were up 2 against SMU. That would have been a great win. very high probability that SMU is going to, and Andy Enfield's opponent is going to make it to the field of 68 this year and make it to the tournament. But that was a brutally tough loss there. Now they could pick up. They did win at home comfortably about double digits against Notre Dame, covering easily. Now they go to the Carrier Dome to take on the Cuse here. So Virginia Tech catching 2.5, Paul.
Yeah, Virginia Tech, they've kind of become the master of the close game, Jimmy, under their seventh year head coach, Mike Young. As you mentioned, they beat Notre Dame 89-76 over the weekend in Blacksburg. But prior to that, the Hokies' previous 6 games had either gone to overtime or been decided by 3 or fewer points. So their previous 6 games, all very tightly contested. They won 3 of those, lost 3 of those. So they split those 6 games. You mentioned their most recent road game, which was last week, a week ago. The Hokies, they led virtually the entire second half, including leading by 4 points with under 10 seconds to go. And ultimately, Boopy Miller hits that midcourt shot, gives SMU the 77-76 victory, kind of a heartbreaker there for the Hokies. You know, looking at last year as a reference point, Virginia Tech, they struggled through an uncharacteristic 13-19 season. Never really got anything going, but they are clearly markedly improved this season. And like most teams that get better from one year to the next, a lot of it's due to the transfer portal. One of those additions being West Virginia transfer Amani Hansberry. Hansberry is a 6'8", 240-pound forward, very physical, 15.8 points per game, 8.9 boards per game. And he teams with Toby Lawal, another front court guy for the Hokies, gives Virginia Tech really a solid ACC type front court. So they can compete with even the better teams on their schedule in the front court. They also added a freshman, a guy from Greece who's played in the Greek Professional League, a 6'8" freshman guard, Neokolis Abdalis. And Abdalis is man, if you watch one of their games or if you call up YouTube or whatever and watch some of his highlights, he's a guy that's not only a real smooth shooter and scorer, really finds his shot, 13.9 points per game, but a tremendous passer too. He really shares the ball well, 5.2 assists a game, claims about 3 rebounds a game as well. So he's really been a nice addition for them. Looking at Virginia Tech in this underdog role, they have covered 4 straight games this season as the betting underdog. They are 5-2 on the year as the betting underdog. So they have done a good job in this point spread role. This Virginia Tech team, they're not going to win the ACC conference title. They're not going to win the regular season title. I don't think they're going to win the tournament. But this is a team, and a lot of people maybe don't think of them in these terms, but this is a team that certainly has a shot to make the NCAA tournament field. Looking at Joe Lenardi, who works for ESPN, in his latest bracketology report, Virginia Tech listed as one of the next 4 out. So they are right on the fringe of making the tournament as we draw close to February. A victory at Syracuse certainly would not hurt their cause there. I just think Virginia Tech's the better team. We're going to get 2.5 points, so we don't necessarily have to win, but I like the Hokies plus 2.5 projected point spread over the Orange in Syracuse.
You're talking about Virginia Tech being much improved, and listen, in all due respect to Ken Pom, and he is the most respected. It's the most respected metric out there in college basketball. It's so respected that the odds makers respect it. That's a hard group to gain the respect of. I mean, it's almost like a starting point for them to look at Ken Pom, and then they'll kind of come up with their opening line. But keep in mind, they start the season with a Ken Pom. Well, the rosters are completely different from one season to the next. So what that means is, and this is to Ken Palm, there is historical input on that metric. And in a right way, if you can catch the team that is going from way up to way down because of their lack of roster, coaching changes sometimes, those kind of tip off the odds makers as well when they lose a coach or gain a coach. But you see a team like Virginia Tech spike in how good they are. Well, that's something that you might be able to take advantage of in the early stages before they kind of before a lot of data points come in and where they can kind of, it's easier to kind of fine tune these numbers. So let's go to the Big East right now. And, well, I'll tell you what, 1 for 23 ain't too good, is it, Paul? Shooting from the field. That's what the Georgetown Hoyas were in Chicago a few games back against DePaul. I think it was 56-53. They lost a game and still were very competitive, but shot 1 for 23 from the field from the second half. Now they go to Villanova, and Cooley's start over in DC has not been, just quite frankly, has been as good of his teams at Providence to this point. His teams are always pretty good, usual participant in the field of 68, but this is not a field of 68 team. But I am citing a couple of games though, like 1 for 23 is not sustainable. This is not a high scoring team by any stretch, but that is going to be a low point. They won't duplicate that anywhere. They shot anywhere better than that, they would have won the game and covered as well. So they had a close loss to Creighton, and then on this past weekend, a very close loss to UConn. They are getting better. This team at least is coachable, and he's coaching them, and they are playing some defense. So now they go to Villanova. Villanova's a better team. It's on the road, but 12 and a half against this team that is buying in to Cooley's system. It is doing the hard stuff. If some shots begin to fall, they may knock off one of these big boys eventually. But 12 and a half, the way they are slowing the game down, it's low scoring. That's a big number against a team. So just like the Ole Miss angle for both Paul and I, you're catching a team that is playing better than their overall resume. Ole Miss is a clearly better form, improving form right now. Might be the case here but you only have about a 2 to 3 game window before those odds makers catch up. Look, they've already covered a couple with straight out wins as road dogs. So if Ole Miss wins as a dog again, that window may tighten. It is going to tighten considerably. Georgetown might be one of those because they continue to lose. They're 1-6 in the league. They only have one conference win right now. So the close losses actually have kept the lines pretty big right now. Have they pulled off one of those wins? Man, you might be looking at single digits right now. But 12 and a half, I'm gladly take them against an improving team and a team that is well coached. We've seen enough sample sizes of Cooley's teams where they're a well coached team, and at least they haven't given up doing the dirty work and defending and rebounding. It's going to take the Hoyas plus all those points on the road in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Georgetown, as you mentioned, only off to a 1-6 start in conference play under third-year head coach Ed Cooley. But man, they have been far from an easy out for the opposition. They defeated Marquette 78-69 in their conference opener way back before Christmas to go 1-0 in league play. But as we mentioned, they've lost those last 6 straight conference games, but only one of those setbacks, Jimmy, by double digits. So they've been very competitive. 3 of their 6 conference losses by 3 points or fewer. And you mentioned the game this past weekend at home there in D.C. They battled third-ranked UConn tooth and nail for 40 minutes, lost that game 64-62, but they were obviously in it the whole way. You look at Villanova, and this is kind of a sandwich spot for Villanova. After a while, they've been playing a lot of games, and there's going to be some points where you're going to have a lull or maybe not quite bring your entire collective team psyche to the floor. And I think a game where you're a double-digit home favorite in a situation like this, where you're coming off a home loss to St. John's and you've got a trip to UConn, as does Villanova coming up this weekend, but you got to play Georgetown in the middle and you're a double-digit home favorite. I think it's really an ideal spot to take Georgetown. Also, to kind of bolster the case, Big East underdogs this year. Not a huge sample size to this point, but Big East underdogs, road dogs, 18, and specifically road underdogs, 18-7 against the spread. So the road underdog has been a favorable play in the Big East to this point. So I like what you're backing here in Georgetown plus the double digits.
All right, Paul, let's go to one of your picks in a game that I watched this past weekend where Utah State was undefeated and made the trip from Logan to the Phoenix area to take on Grand Canyon. So, Grand Canyon is one of these upstart schools that has a huge enrollment, whether it's online or on campus. And man, those campuses around the Phoenix area, I mean, Arizona State, Grand Canyon, I mean, just unbelievable the amount of enrollment at those schools. The Lopes have actually made it to the last 4 out of 5 NCAA tournaments, so they're no surprise there. They won the game outright as a 5.5 point underdog. And that place was jumping. It's their main sport. They don't have football. This is it, and so it's a tough place to play. But wondered a little bit of a hangover effect after winning. Now San Diego State comes into town, and San Diego State is a 1.5 point favorite at Grand Canyon. Paul, this is one of your picks here, the Aztecs.
Yeah, head coach Bryce Drew and Grand Canyon, they made the jump from the Western Athletic Conference to the Mountain West Conference in the offseason. The Lopes off to a nice 4-2 record in their Mountain West debut to this point. You mentioned what I believe would be their most impressive victory of the season to this point, that 84-74 home win over then 23rd ranked Utah State over the weekend. They're going to be seeking on Wednesday their second straight big win at home against league leader San Diego State. San Diego State comes in with a perfect 7-0 record in Mountain West play. The Aztecs lost 4 games before the Christmas break, but they played a really challenging schedule, played some good people. Some of those people, teams like Michigan and Arizona among San Diego State's losses. So they're not losing to Cole, so to speak, losing to good people. You look at this San Diego State program, and under the tutelage of their longtime head coach Brian Dutcher, they have routinely been a factor in the Mountain West race year in and year out. They've played in the last 5 NCAA tournaments, including a few years ago, the 2022-23 season when they played for the national championship, lost to UConn 76-59, but came one victory away from winning it all. You know, you look at this season, San Diego State team, extremely balanced. They have 6 scores, their top 6 scores averaging between 8.2 and 11.6 points per game. So very balanced. 11 players, they play a lot of people. 11 players at this point in the season average over 10 minutes a game. So Dutcher's got a very deep bench, doesn't mind playing people. And to further illustrate their balanced scoring attack, in their last 7 games, 5 different players have led the team in scoring in one of those games. You look at San Diego State, and another kind of a characteristic of this team under Dutcher is they have really played well on the road historically. This season, no different. 3 games so far this year, they have been a Mountain West road favorite. They are 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread as a road favorite, with those previous covers coming against San Jose State, Nevada, and Wyoming. I think it's going to be tough for Grand Canyon to back up this weekend's victory over Utah State with another big-time victory. I think San Diego State's a little more steady. I like the Aztecs -1.5 over the Lopes.
All right, let's get to my final pick, and let's go to the Big Ten. And the Big Ten leader right now, Indiana basketball and uh, and Nebraska Nebraska basketball. I'll get it straight real quick. But anyway, the Nebraska Cornhuskers are 7-0 in the Big Ten. They're 7-0 against the spread. How much are they? They're covering by a combined 72 points. So averaging a double-digit cover in those. Let you know, just give you an idea. The basketball lines usually are a little tighter than the football lines. Football teaser is 6 points, a 6.2 team teaser, and then in basketball is 4 points. So those points are a little bit more condensed. So this is unheard of for a team to be covering at the straight. Listen, they're covering and people are betting and they jump on the bandwagon. I'm usually on the side where I'm taking inflated number, but I cannot get in the way of this runaway train right now in Freddie Hoiberg's Nebraska Cornhuskers. Made it to the tournament the last couple of times, but has not won a tournament game. That may change this week. I mean, this year rather. The other thing is they are that 35% three-point shooting. You look at that and like, okay, it's pretty average. You watch them play. How are they only 35% up from the three-point line? When they get going, they really get going. And the other thing is they took a kid last year, 6'7" lefty, and they redshirted him. So he's playing this year, and they're bringing him along, and he can really stroke it. Braden Frazier, the 6'7" redshirt freshman for Nebraska, he is quietly getting better and better as they go along. In the last 7 games, 6 of them, he has scored double digits, including 23 and 20 the last couple of games, including 7 of 11 from three from the 3-point line against the Oregon Ducks, where they had a kind of a letdown spot, close early. They win by 30 going away. The other thing is kind of like that Indiana. I'll steal a page from the college football. Did Indiana really take anything for granted this year when they started beating teams? No, man. When they get up on you, they would look to pound you. When they got up on Illinois, they looked to beat them even worse. Oregon, Alabama, all of the others came a little bit short in the national championship game. Miami was pretty good on their home turf. But the point is, you look at that arena; they are excited about basketball. And the other thing is the football, their first love, which they love and they sell out every game. It's not an empty seat in a stadium as well for Nebraska football. But damn it, they're just dying to get behind a winner. And all due respect to the volleyball team, they're really, really good. But man, this basketball team and the mayor Freddie Hoiberg has it going. Normally, look, I'll grant you, this is an inflated line. It should probably not be this high, but man, when they get up, there is no exhale. There's no letting their foot off the gas. Paul, I've been on them. I'm riding them. I'm going to continue riding them until it's done right now. I'm going to take Nebraska minus double digits here.
Yeah, looking back to October, the Big Ten preseason media basketball poll comes out, and Nebraska was picked to finish 14th this season in the Big Ten in the 18-team league. I think they're going to probably end up finishing a little bit higher than 14th. But I'm like, like you, sometimes as a sports bettor, you just have to ride a hot hand until it runs out of steam. So I certainly can't fault a man for, backing a Nebraska team that's off to a historic 18-0 start, which is the Cornhuskers' best ever start in the program's 130-year history. So that's a whole lot of years. Their current number 7 ranking in the AP poll, that's the highest they've ever been ranked at any point in school history. And obviously, since they're perfect on the year, 18-0 to this point, they're perfect in conference. They're tied for the conference lead with Purdue at 7-0. And you mentioned this, they've appeared in 8 NCAA tournaments, including a couple of seasons ago, but they have yet to win a tournament game. I think that's likely to change this year. Currently, Joe Lunardi has them established or predicted to be a number 2 seed. So if they hold, they might not hold that, but if they were to hold number 2 seed, they'd obviously be playing a 15 seed and be heavily favored. And even if they fall to a 3 seed, they would get a 14 and be more than a double-digit favorite there, more than likely as well. So they're probably going to win their first NCAA tournament game in school history. Looking at this, they've played some overmatched opponents early in the year. But if you look at games where they're with a spread of 14 points, whether they're the underdog or the favorite, they've been favored in most of those. But in games with a point spread of 14 or lower, Nebraska 9-2 against the spread this year. This game qualifies and falls within those parameters. I can't fault you for backing Nebraska because they just keep on churning out winners on the court and at the betting window as well.
And it took me to get my hand slapped a little bit to when we picked Indiana, and Indiana's got a 16, 17-point lead in the second half. I mean, laying a modest number, about 4 or so. And man, it just, boom, they lose by 6 or 7 and 35.5%. Okay. The numbers don't lie. But you watch them, man, when they get an open look, they rarely miss from 3. I mean, they can shoot it, and that's the pressure that they put on. Hoiberg really understands that to try and push it up before, even though they're not fast in tempo, they will look to push it up initially if they they're a smart team. Coach is really smart. And it seems like, the roster that he has is very coachable. So they're very, very smart team. And the Big Ten, man, and just a really, really good group of coaches in this league. Still trying to wrap our head around with the Big Ten. It goes from Piscataway to L.A. But I mean, it just even a guy like Minnesota. That's one of the better coaching jobs in the Big Ten with Nico Medved, who was a buzzer beater away from advancing to the Sweet 16 last year at Colorado State when Queen of Maryland beat him at the buzzer in the second round on that Sunday evening game. But really, really good coaches. And, well, there's one school that's paying a lot of money to their football coach. Might be another team paying a lot of money to their basketball coach because Hoiberg is going to get some attention from some stronger programs. And, well, hold on to what you got. I'm not sure he wants to jump, but he is going to get paid more. We do a college basketball season every Tuesday and Thursday. So it's a couple of late Tuesday games, and then all of you Wednesday slate. We'll be back Thursday for the weekend stuff later in the week. It's for Paul Stone. I'm Jimmy Ott here on the College Sports Rush YouTube channel, brought to you by our friends at Bet Rivers.